Hello, everybody. It is I, your favorite creepy uncle in this universe, Bannick13. Now, I have been a little quiet on YouTube. Let me explain. A lot of you may already know I've been focusing a lot on my live streaming on twitch.tv/Bannick13. So if you haven't joined us there already, what are you waiting for? Come and join me live on Twitch TV. If you can't access Twitch TV, it's okay. Most of my streams I will start uploading to YouTube, so nobody's going to miss out. Unfortunately, I cannot stream to both platforms with Twitch and YouTube. I would love to do both. I could do both. Unfortunately, I am now affiliated with Twitch and they just don't allow that. I'd have to do separate streams to YouTube. For those of you that have been following the Creepy Uncle's journey on Twitch TV, you'll know that I have been playing some Cyberpunk live there. So the main focus obviously is Diablo 3, Reaper of Souls, and when new seasons come out, we focus on seasons. But Cyberpunk is a game that I've been waiting for about 10 years, ever since I saw like a teaser about 10 years ago. It has been in development for 8 years plus, and it has had a very controversial, well, not controversial so much, but a disaster of a launch, especially for the older gen consoles, the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox. With the PlayStation 5, I've heard it's been running okay. I haven't heard much about the new Xbox. On PC, which I've been playing on, it runs relatively well. It is quite buggy and glitchy, but not to the point where it's unplayable like the older gen consoles. So I've definitely heard that that's been an absolute nightmare and probably the worst launch ever, considering that it's been completely taken off PlayStation Store and also PlayStation offering refunds, which is something that they never do. Sony don't like giving money back ever. One thing on PC that I've been disappointed with, and at the moment I'm about 50 hours in and I will focus on it a lot more, especially when we're coming close to the tail end, the end of Season 22 for Diablo 3. I'll be focusing more on Cyberpunk and also Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which those two games I definitely want to complete and get all my achievements and trophies and stuff. One thing I'm disappointed with so far in my 50 hours playthrough, with all the bugs and glitches aside, like I can pretty much tolerate most of them. It's still quite an amazing game. Like every now and then I might have to go back to an older saved game, and the game does have a lot of auto saves, so if you lose some progress, it's usually not much if the game does glitch out. I'm talking about things like enemies being invisible that you can't see, so I have to go back to a save game because they're shooting at me, they're killing you, they're invisible, and you can't shoot back. They've gone invisible. Sometimes you kill an enemy and they'll just be standing in this like crucified position, like you've just killed them, broken their neck, throw them in the bin. All of a sudden they're just standing there like that. Levitating corpses. Sometimes I was like couldn't talk to a certain NPC to complete a quest. Little things like that. They're very annoying, but not to a point where I'd call the game unplayable or not enjoyable. The city is definitely full of life on PC, as opposed to consoles where like you get one or two people running around. On PC there's people everywhere, there's a lot of traffic on the roads. It's definitely quite immersive, but it's a lot of little things that it's missing, such as the reactions of the civilians, for starters. Most of them will say the same thing to you, respond the same way. Some of them you can't interact with at all. They don't have daily routine like in Red Dead Redemption 2. You should be able to follow people around and basically watch them go to a restaurant, go to a nightclub, go to their apartment, have a daily routine. There's nothing like that. They're just like zombies. They don't react very well. Like you might just complete a mission for the NCPD, the police department, Night City Police Department around the corner, and then all of a sudden when you run down the street, everyone's just sort of in this little like position where they're holding their heads and they're squatting as though there's danger around them, but it's just so unrealistic. Like, nobody was running over there, but further down the road everyone's squatting. The police department doesn't react very realistically. Sometimes I'm just driving past a crime scene and they start shooting me like I've done something wrong. So it's a very basic AI system for the police, for the NCPD, I think, which definitely needs to be improved. And they did advertise that you can bribe the police and you could do all these missions for the like there's not much you have to do except come across these NCPD crime zones and pretty much kill the criminals around there, and that's it. Your side mission's complete. So it's very repetitive, very boring, not very immersive. Little things like buying a drink at a bar, instead of like being able to actually drink it and choose, like, you know, I don't know, a whiskey, a beer, a vodka or something like that. You pay them, you know, $10 a shot or whatever, and you have it, and you can, after a few, you get drunk, like drinking like you did in Red Dead 2. Instead of that, it brings you to the exact same menu pretty much with every bartender. It's just boring. It takes you into your inventory instead of you actually physically drinking the drink. You can't see yourself physically drinking a drink or eating a meal or anything like that. You can't interact with civilians. A lot of the models are repetitive. You might see the same character model, like within basically footsteps of each other sometimes. I came across the same skins multiple times. I could go on and on. The game just basically needs a little bit more polish and definitely wasn't finished as far as the glitches and bugs go. Anyway, before I keep on ranting, CD Projekt Red has been hard at work on improving this game apparently. They came out with this apology. I was at work last night and I was on Instagram just browsing through, and this came up because I follow Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red on Instagram. Big fan of CD Projekt Red. That's why everyone had their hopes up so high for this game. Their expectations were through the roof. We were all excited for Cyberpunk. That we didn't expect such a disaster of a launch, and that the game just would be so buggy and glitchy and unpolished. There's just little things that they could polish in this game, and it'll be a 10 out of 10. So far for me, it's maybe like an 8-ish, maybe 9 out of 10. It's still a phenomenal game, and you can see the potential there. They're so close. It just feels like they rushed it out. They just should have taken a bit more time to finish it properly and completely. And even if it came out in like 2021, I would rather wait for the finished version of this game, because right now I'm still going to finish my playthrough, but I'll definitely do a new game once it is polished and completed with all the upcoming patches. I think there's one in January, a major patch in January and a major patch in February. But anyway, I did check out the video, and I'll just whack my headphones on here so I can hear what he's saying. So this is what CD Projekt Red has to say. It's an apology. Look, I appreciate that they make a video about this and they acknowledge their error and their wrongdoing in what's happened here with the launch. So my hat's off to them for that. A lot of game companies wouldn't bother with that. So CD Projekt Red, you know, last game they gave us, I think, was Witcher 3. That was absolutely phenomenal, and I think everyone had such high hopes for this game. They didn't think CD Projekt Red would let us down ever, because they were just so dedicated to their games and their fans and their customers who play their games. They're like, you know, it's like the gamers themselves, so they deliver great content and they keep adding to it. So I think everyone's just been let down in this case. So let's see what they have to say together.
Hey everyone, my name is Marcin Iwinski and I'm the co-founder of CD Projekt. When I started CD Projekt 25 years ago, one of its founding principles was honest and direct communication with gamers. When CD Projekt Red, the game development part of CD Projekt, was born, it added something important to that principle, the ambition to make the best games in the world. It became our mission and something that guided us up until now. Based on that legacy of genuine and honest communication, you've trusted us and pre-ordered our game. And despite good reviews on PC, the console version of Cyberpunk 2077 did not meet the quality standard we wanted it to meet. I and the entire leadership team are deeply sorry for this, and this video is me publicly owning up to that.
Good.
Please don't fault any of our teams for what happened. They all are incredibly talented and hardworking. Myself and the board are the final decision makers, and it was our call to release the game. Although, believe me, we never intended for anything like this to happen. I assure you that we'll do our best to regain your trust. Now I'd like to tell you how the situation looked like from the inside. Cyberpunk 2077 is huge in scope. And I'm not only talking about quests or things you see at first glance. I'm talking about a multitude of custom objects, interacting systems and mechanics.
So he makes it, he's obviously taking the blame here. I can't help feel that he would have known a lot better personally that this game was not ready. I think there's a lot of investors, a lot of head honchos up above this dude that would have been pushing for it. You know, it's not just, there's a lot of money at stake with a huge release like this, especially coming off the hype that was The Witcher 3. I can't help but feel like they were pushed. Like, he's absorbing it all, taking it on the chin, and completely taking the blame for it. But I can't help like feel that there was a lot more pressure to get this out than he's actually revealing here. But let's go on and see what else he says.
In the game, everything is not stretched out over flat terrain where we can make things less taxing hardware-wise, but condensed in one big city and in a relatively loading-free environment. On its own, this is a challenge, but we made it even more difficult for ourselves by wanting to make the game look epic on PCs and then adjusting it to consoles, especially old gens. That was our core assumption, and things did not look super difficult at first. We knew the hardware gap, yes, but ultimately, I think that time has proven that we've underestimated the task. To give you a concrete example, and the main culprit, we had to constantly improve our in-game streaming system for all-gen consoles. Streaming is responsible for feeding the engine with what you see on screen, as well as the game mechanics. And since the city is so packed and the disk bandwidth of all gens is what it is, it constantly challenged us.
See, that's only part of the problem, though. He's talking about the city being so packed. But if you look at the PlayStation 4 and Xbox versions, and I've watched some friends play, and I've spoken to some friends about this. I've seen it, but I haven't played it myself. But you can see the huge difference between me playing it on PC. The world of Night City is just full of life. There's people everywhere. There's traffic on PlayStation. There's just nobody around. It's an absolute ghost town. And even when they actually took, like in the beginning, I think there was more density and a lot more population to the city. They took that away with a patch. And what he's saying here is that was one of the huge problems. But the thing is, it didn't really help anything. In some cases, it made the game even worse. So there's more to it, not just the density and the hugeness of the world. There's a lot more to it than that. The bugs and glitches are still very evident. The crashes are still there. It's not just the absolute big scope of the city, I think.
Every change and improvement needed to be tested, and as it turned out, our testing did not show a big part of the issues you experience while playing the game.
See, this is another thing that I find baffling. If you tested the game on a PlayStation or the older generation Xbox, how could you not have seen this? Everyone's experiencing these issues. It's unplayable for some people. A lot of my friends that I've spoken to, did you play it on the actual old play? Like, all they had to do was play it on an old PlayStation. So I think he's got people making him be very cautious with what he's saying and admitting to right now, because there's a lot of court cases going on. This is like shit's hit the fan in regards to this game release. There are court cases going on, so I think he can't admit to it, but they knew that they were releasing something broken. The PC version that I've been playing, I would definitely agree that could have been released and then patched in the future. It is probably a little bit too much on the buggy side, but I would have been happy playing it and just having it patched. But what I've seen on the console versions is definitely something that they should not have released at all. Not yet, anyway.
As we got closer to the final release, we saw significant improvements each and every day, and we really believed we would deliver in the final Day Zero update. Now let's talk about the review process. We started sending our PC review keys in the first days of December. On launch day, December 10th, we hit the ground running with a really good start on PC. While not perfect, it's a version of Cyberpunk we are very proud of. At the same time, we're fighting for quality on all-gen consoles till the very last moment. And every extra day of us working on the Day Zero update brought visible improvement. This is why we started sending console review keys on the 8th of December, which was later than we originally planned. This all happened while working from home with all the challenges resulting from the COVID-related restrictions. A lot of the dynamics we normally take.
COVID, fair enough. 2020 has been the shittest year ever in our human existence. So I understand that would have impacted it for sure. But I just don't think they properly tested it. Or they can't say that they didn't actually see the issues on the older generation consoles. That's all they had to do was plug in one of the consoles and play it on it.
For granted, got lost over video calls or email.
But otherwise,
I took that hit too.
I appreciate his passion.
Now I'd like to tell you about our plans for the future and present a path for Cyberpunk 2077 on consoles and PC. We have already released 3 hotfixes improving the game, but that's just the beginning. Our ultimate goal is to fix the bugs and crashes gamers are experiencing across platforms. Please expect bigger and smaller patches on a regular basis. The first update will be dropping within 10 days, and it will be followed by another, more significant one in the following weeks. We will, of course, continue to work on the game in future updates and improvements beyond that. Our big plans for supporting Cyberpunk in the long term did not change. As for the free DLCs, our initial plan was to deliver them just after the release, much like we did with The Witcher 3. We decided to focus on the most important fixes and updates first, and we'll be releasing the DLCs afterwards.
Okay, so we've got the release day, a couple fixes here, well, 3 fixes. That was like last year, then they had the holiday break, 2021. So January, the 1.1, patch 1.1, then February, patch 1.2, and then in between there, multiple updates and improvements. So 2 major patches and continuous updates and improvements, free DLCs, and then free next-gen console update. So that should probably be somewhere around here, to be honest with you, but instead of worrying about DLC content, just get this over there and fix the game properly so it's running first before you add to the actual game. But maybe this is such a huge job that it just has to be over here and we're going to get some DLCs first. At least they're definitely working hard on it. And, you know, just because we're all disappointed with CD Projekt Red in this instance, like, my hat's off to them. They're an amazing game company. I'm not going to hold this against them. I believe that they can make this game great. Yeah, they made a mistake. I hope they never do it again, obviously. But, you know, they're still a great game developer and I still have faith in them. And I believe what he's saying, that they're going to fix it. I definitely do have faith and I cannot wait to play the finished product.
Expect more information in the upcoming months. For those of you playing on next-gen consoles in back compatibility,
and there's no mention of the
free next-gen update for
the
Xbox
online
Series
mode right
and
now.
PlayStation 5 arriving in 2021. We are aiming at the second half of the year. I'd like to end this video by assuring you that we treat this entire situation very seriously and are working hard to make it right. The guiding principles of our company are still core to what we do. We still want to make amazing games and have an open communication with you, our players. For now, our immediate focus is to work hard on making sure you enjoy Cyberpunk 2077 regardless of platform. Beyond Cyberpunk, we have many plans for the future,
Big statement.
We'll share more about when we're ready. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video.
I think it's great that they released this. I mean, they didn't have to. A lot of game developers would just crawl under a rock. They'd hide. So I do appreciate that he's released this and they've spoken and that they're going to dedicate their time to fixing it. That's great. I do have faith in it. You can definitely see, like, I believe him. I think he's telling the truth. I think there's a lot of passion behind it. I think they take the games very seriously. They don't want to disappoint us. I think the release didn't have anything to do so much with CD Projekt Red, the game developer, and himself there. I think it was more investors, a lot of pressure to get this game out at a certain time to maximize profits, all that sort of stuff. Like, you know, November was delayed because the game just simply was probably in a disastrous state. I can't imagine what it was like, and they delayed it 1 more month. It came out in December, probably just in time for Christmas, and the hype behind the next-gen consoles coming out. So they wanted to time it before Christmas, I think, and they probably should have targeted next Christmas, like Christmas 2021 instead of 2020, but I guess, you know, we all make mistakes. They just have to learn from it, and let's hope they redeem themselves. If you want to watch me playing Cyberpunk and Diablo 3 live, make sure you join the Creepy Army on Twitch TV. Until next time, this is your favorite creepy uncle in the universe, out of here.